Hi, I'm Hope Witkowsky, your host of Senior Scene. You've all been warned about the big earthquake that is supposed to happen here in California. On today's show, we're going to learn how you can be better prepared from our Torrance firefighters and a volunteer organization called Cert. Kathy Galveston and her husband Chuck know the big one is inevitable. And after the 9/11 tragedies, they were inspired to get the proper training needed to be prepared for any disaster, natural or man-made.
I had grandchildren, and I felt that I wanted to be able to take care of them in an emergency, so I needed more ideas of what I needed to do. And since I was taking care of the grandchildren all the time, I thought that was the best way to do it was through CERT and learning about other disasters.
Kathy decided to take the Community Emergency Response Training, or CERT, more than 10 years ago so that she could take care of her family in the event of an emergency until first responders arrived.
Back in those days, you were just automatically a volunteer. That didn't change until a few years later when the city decided that they needed more background information on our volunteers, which is understandable. You're going into people's homes, you're working in chaotic situations. So at that point, several of the CERT graduates signed the paperwork to become disaster service volunteers, which also protects us under FEMA.
On average, it takes the Torrance Police and Fire about 5 to 8 minutes to respond to a 911 call. And in the event of a big disaster, the Galvestons are ready to assist until professional help arrives.
The main purpose for people to take the CERT class and for the fire department to encourage us to take the people to take the class is to be prepared, because 47 firefighters in the city of Torrance is not enough to help everyone in the case of an emergency if we can get out of our brick fire stations once the earthquake has happened. So be prepared, be self-sufficient for a certain number of days until we can get help to you.
Laura Bednar of the Torrance Fire Department says anyone over 21 years of age can volunteer to be a CERT member. And the most important thing one can learn is to keep you and your family and your neighborhood safe in a disaster.
If a person wants to train with the CERT program, all they need to do is be a resident of Torrance or work in the city of Torrance. And we offer a free class, and we do have a free kit that comes with that class with supplies in it. They register through the Community Services Department of the city, and we offer 3 different classes, 3 different schedules during the year. The classes are all at the fire department headquarters, Carson and Crenshaw, and there's different times to fit everyone's schedules.
After graduating from CERT Class 3, Kathy went on to become a volunteer for the fire department who oversees this program.
I'm passionately interested in disaster preparedness, and I firmly believe that it's up to each resident of every city to take responsibility for themselves, because police and fire, well, I'll have a can of beans. There's a lot more to it than that.
During the resident CERT training, they are given a backpack filled with items that are essential for them to do their volunteer job without getting injured themselves. Some of the items are a helmet, a CERT vest with gloves, flashlight, duct tape, blankets, a first aid kit, and a metal device that can be used to turn off the gas and the water main.
The importance of a helmet is that during an earthquake, as we all know, things are falling. And if your head isn't protected, you can't help yourself or anybody else, because you could be injured now. So you want a helmet that has a chin strap. You can find those at any home improvement center.
Kathy shows us the items she keeps in her bedroom for emergencies and also suggests securing tall furniture to the walls so they don't fall over on you during an earthquake.
They need to, bit by bit, build something up for themselves, some little kit that they can keep close to them that should especially contain water, their medications if they need some, and a good pair of shoes that will cover their entire foot. and if possible, a helmet, especially if they can't move well. They're going to need something to protect their heads, and a flashlight.
You may be wondering why you need your medications in small bills in this grab bag that you take with you when the shaking starts.
The importance of the medication is that during the aftermath of an earthquake, drugstores are not going to have any electricity to get you your refills. So you need to have 3 or 4 days set aside with your go bag so that if you have to grab that bag and go, you've got your medication, you can keep yourself going for 3 or 4 days. Just remember that when you get your refill at the end of every month or whenever it is, that you rotate those pills out. That's very important. No electricity means no computers for the drugstores, and the registers aren't going to be working either.
Don't forget to have some items that will give you information when the power goes out.
We encourage everybody to have a battery-operated radio, and if you think about it, if you have a car, you have a battery-operated radio. So if you can get to your car and turn it on, the broadcasts will be on the radio, and they will also be on the TV. You know how they have the emergency broadcast system that will come over all the channels, and it will tell people what is going on and what to do.
Another volunteer organization, TARA, or Torrance Amateur Radio Association, started in 1983 because the Torrance Police Department wanted some other type of civilian communication to back them up during an emergency. Chuck is one of the volunteers who helped grow this club, which is housed in the Torrance Police Department.
Basically, what we're training for is for the inevitable emergency, the inevitable earthquake, where we will provide probably the only communication for some time due to damage of infrastructure.
Their home houses much more ham radio equipment than the average TARA volunteer needs to have, but Chuck enjoys being the backup for communications.
Well, as you can see, I have quite a collection of equipment here, including in my car. However, most of our operators, especially those that are Cert crossovers, including you, by the way, have a radio similar to this, and which is a very compact, what we call an HT, handheld transceiver, and set for the ham bands. And this is really all they need in order to get started. All of this comes afterward if you really get involved or that deep into it. There are hams out there that are much deeper into it than I am, that have tons and tons of equipment, so it just depends on how much you want to invest.
Training to be a ham radio operator is not too difficult. I became a TARA member just by taking classes that were offered in Torrance, and if I can do it, so can you. And you only have to renew your license every 10 years without taking a test.
First of all, you get a book, the first level, if you will, for the ham is the technician's license. And there are several books out that cover that particular subject, and it allows you to study for the test just like you would if you were studying for, say, to take your driver's license test. And then there are places on the internet where you can go and practice that test over and over again until you feel confident that you can pass it. There are places then, both in Torrance and in PV and also at TRW, where you can actually take the test under the supervision of hams that are licensed to do that. And that costs $15. And if you pass it, then you get your call sign.
And when you need to contact your relatives after an emergency, be sure to cover your bases.
If a cell phone should happen to work, it's probably better to text, because a text is much more likely to go through than a voice communication would be.
In the event of an emergency, antennas located on top of all Torrance libraries and schools are in place and go into effect, and TARA volunteers go to their designated critical facility sites to work the radios.
We're one of the few types of communications that doesn't depend on other infrastructure in order to function. We can function portal to portal or in direct contact with each other.
There are ways you can not only protect your own home, but join a growing number of residents who are part of the Neighborhood Watch program. This will link you up with your block neighborhoods. Sergeant Chris Rusin of the Torrance Police Department talked to us about the importance of knowing your neighbors.
Map Your Neighborhood is just an extension of Neighborhood Watch. Neighborhood Watch, we educate the community about crime prevention, and in Map Your Neighborhood, we, along with our Cert volunteers, educate the community about handling disasters.
When that big earthquake comes and the fire department's called out and the police department's called out, what happens with the neighbors?
Well, the first 72 hours is the most important, and we'd like to think, as well as the fire department would like to think, that we can get to everybody, but the fact of the matter is we can't. So what this does is it gives the community a sense of unity and to be able to help each other till we do get there.
During a disaster, there are more than 70,000 people who may need help. Many have adored pets in their homes that will be helpless if their owners are not home.
When a disaster occurs, I'd like to think that the Torrance Police Department and the fire department will be able to respond and help everybody, but the fact of the matter is that may not happen. We have great volunteers here. Our CERT program, our Community and Emergency Response Team, our TARA, and our ADT, our Animal Disaster Team, they all will help the police department during any kind of disaster. I'd like to think that the Torrance community could help out everybody by just joining that, and by doing that, all they have to do is go to our website and look at our disaster service volunteer link and be part of that.
You can get involved with Neighborhood Watch and Map Your Neighborhood by calling the Torrance Police Department's non-emergency line at 310-328-3456 or visit the city's website at torranceca.gov. Get your disaster kit going now, because it could be the difference between life and death for you and your family. I'm Hope Witkowsky, reminding you that knowledge, it's a powerful tool. Tune in next time for more secrets on successful aging.